I can see me. I'm there. Hello, everybody.
Guess I better get there then, huh?
Well, if you want to be part of it, I guess so. Somebody's there. We made it. We're back. We're alive and mostly well after our trip. So, yay! Looking forward to talking to everybody. Dan Russen Holt says, welcome back. Thank you. We're still a little bit like, after the long drive back and everything, and we haven't finished unpacking all of our stuff. It's easier to pack it than it is to unpack it. But yeah, it's coming along. It was quite the journey, though. We certainly had some experiences while we were up there and had some interesting things happen to both of us. Donna says, hi guys, I missed you. I'm sure everyone missed you. Thank you. We appreciate that. We missed you guys too. There's just no way to do a live show where there's zero internet, no cell phones, nothing. So, yeah. But we were happy to be there. Ian says, welcome all. Thanks for being here. We ended up leaving a day early because a bunch of smoke came in. I mean, we're talking, we looked out the window the last morning we were there and we couldn't see the table about 20 feet away from us. So we decided it was too hazardous for our health and we had to get out. Beth says, hi, Siofra and all. Hi, Beth. And it was amazing. It took 4 hours to pack the van up after, we'd taken everything out and set it all up to put it all back. So that was tiring. And then we had to do all the drive on the way back. So it made for a long day. But that meant we got home one day early and were able to decompress a little bit. Beth says, hi, Ian. Sheila says, glad you're back. Hi, Sheila. We're glad to be back. Erin Jones says, hello. Hi. How are you? We could not believe the amount of smoke at the end. That was just phenomenal. It's becoming the new norm in the valley area, which we were close to. So it certainly changes the organization of trips when you're going to go and stuff like that, trying to plan on fire season and everything.
Yeah, well, when trees are getting dim and they're only 20 feet away, that's too much smoke.
It's way too much smoke. That says, so glad you both had a good time. Yes, we both had our individual adventures and some shared adventures. Really made me think a lot about living up north when I lived up in the Kispioks because, one room cabin. We managed to get the heater going, but it's the worst built heater design of all time. It's terrible. So that was entertaining. You had to have the door open to it in order for it to work. Seems contrary to how it's supposed to function, because I had a really good heating stove when I lived up north, ultimate control and everything. So, yep, not that great. I'm amazed people stay there in the wintertime. Can't understand how. Jonna says the smoke sounds bad, but you could have been stuck at Burning Man. I saw on the news. Oh my. They're still stuck, and I'm not sure how long it's going to take for them to get out. This is not going to be a fun memory for these people. Grumpy Owl says, hello. Hi, Grumpy Owl. Yeah, so, it's such a different kind of environment, though, being up there with the quiet and the animals and the birds and, just sort of sitting without anything we have to do, so we can just be. So that was pretty incredible. For those of you who wonder about the yew tree and the wood, the yew tree was generous. I have, I think, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 possible wands from the material that the tree gave me, of different sizes and thicknesses and so forth. One of them is a pretty substantial one, this one here. But I spent the first 3 days first talking to, then cutting, and then peeling the wood and everything from the yew tree. So I had like a job, which was a fun job. And peeling live wood is very interesting. Sundrop says, hi, Siofra and Ian in chat. Missed you. Welcome back. Thank you. Beth says, oh, wow, that's so awesome. Yeah, just, it's hard to find a place where you can just sort of be just in nature. Why it reminded me so much of being up in the Kispioks and the extremes of temperature. It was like, in the 50s at night or less, and then 95 during the day. So, it was like we had to monitor where we were sitting and where the shade might be. So, going in and out and so forth. And it's like, yeah. And then there were the critters inside the cabin, which I'm not used to anymore. Friar the Liar says, how's it going? And Charity says, hello there. Hi, guys. Yeah, so they had a vole and a pack rat, and I can't sleep when things are gnawing and scratching near my head. So I spent many nights with my flashlight, turning my flashlight on and trying to catch them. And one night saw one of them running all the way across the beam over Ian's head. And then he left through the roof. So yeah, that was sort of not unexpected because we had that the last time, but different kind of sleep when you're not actually sleeping very well. Grumpy Owl says, wizard's hat? Hello? Friar the Liar says, it's hard to find places to have peace these days. Yeah, and the last night before we woke up to the smoke in the morning, some idiot people moved into the horse camp next to us and started playing really loud music and kind of shattered the stillness. So that was sort of annoying. But yeah, it was nice, and I certainly had my share of experiences when I was up there. I had some visions. I saw some giant things in the sky. I met a forest troll, which was a surprise and unexpected, and all sorts of stuff. And Ian had his share of experiences too. Grumpy Owl says, it's a sticker from your channel. Oh, someone else put the stickers up. So yay, thank you. We like stickers. Yeah, we had another one of our people who knew how to do that. He did and uploaded the stickers and stuff like that with the right format for YouTube to be happy about it all. So, yeah, cool. I like it. Jonna says, are forest trolls friendly? Well, historically not. Because they've been bothered, I think. I was reading actually a book about the different kinds of fae at the time, and I was on the section about trolls just before I saw him later that day, and the woman who was writing the book was talking about how mountain trolls and forest trolls have got a bad rap because there's like negative encounters with people, but in general it's because people are there messing with their territory and their stuff, and messing up the woods or messing up the mountains and being pests and not paying attention to what's going on around them. And when I saw the troll, we found a place down a trail outside of the cabin that had lots of shade, and Ian sat in one spot and I sat in another, and there was this tree that was there, and I kept feeling something like in the tree. So I just sort of sat there and unfocused my eyes and waited. And when he came into view, he's about 10 feet tall and maybe 5 or so feet wide at the shoulder. Very large head, very intense eyes. I've never seen anything like it. He was looking right at me, and then he realized I could see him, and he started to shapeshift to try and like be something else, like less frightening maybe. I don't know. But I told him, hey, that's fine. Your normal shape is okay with me. it's not freaking me out or anything. You don't have to try and make me feel comfortable or safe or what have you. And then he reverted back to his normal form. So we just sat there and looked at each other for a while. No words were exchanged, just sort of a feeling of acknowledgement. Um, and like I said, I was definitely quite surprised by seeing this guy. He was something else. So Breyer says, "Did you see UFOs?" Nope, not a single one. First, we had a thunderstorm the first night we were there, and then we had lots of clear nights, but there was no activity, just the planes and then some helicopters fighting a fire. So there were no UFOs. We kept our eye out. Grumpy Al put up more of our stickers, apparently. Thank you. And Fire the Liar says, "In the sky, I meant." Well, yeah. I figured you meant. Ruth says, "Hi, all." Hi, Ruth. Fire the Liar says, "Oh, I see." Yeah, so the stuff I did see in the sky were visions, and I'm trying to put it together because that's where that started, was when we were there, the first few years that we went there. That ability to see these huge giant shapes, they're sort of like line drawings, but they're humongous. They take up like a fourth of the sky sometimes. But I'm not sure what they mean. So I saw like a large eagle twice. The first day I saw this eagle take shape across the horizon, and then it flew off towards the rising sun. And then the next day it showed up in the same spot but took off towards the setting sun. So that was interesting, but I don't know what the meaning of that is. Although Ian was looking to work with eagles, so I thought maybe it had something to do with that. I saw a giant head that was yelling a lot, which I didn't like. I could see its mouth moving and being an angry face, but I couldn't make out the words. Then I saw what I think was Mothman, which concerned me a little bit. He flew right over my head, but he wasn't there like physically that anyone else could see. Then there was like a large head with an eye patch and a beard that I figured was Odin or something like that. But I'm beginning to think that the things I'm seeing in the sky are like, we talk about thought forms and how we all make thought forms. So I'm thinking maybe these are collections of the same kind of thought that more people are having. And that's what I'm seeing, is like this larger version of a thought form that's being fed by a lot of people. I don't know. It's an interesting notion anyway. So I'm giving it some thought. Grumpy Al says, "My wish kind of came true. I was hoping you guys would have a nice spiritual Bigfoot encounter. I hear some shapeshift and some people call them trolls too." No, I wasn't physically there. He was definitely not a physical manifestation of anything. He was a spirit being in another dimension or whatever, and did not look anything like Bigfoot. But hey, Briar the Liar says, "There's a spot in the woods by a park I live, and there's sounds of water, but I looked on the map and there are no water nearby at all. What may this be in your thoughts? What may this be?" Interesting. Because, clairaudience is one of those abilities that we can develop. It could be you're hearing water from a different time, that there was water there at some point. And and that's what you're listening to, or it could be a message from a water spirit identifying itself. Like some of the fairies that I meet have a certain smell that come with them, and so I associate that smell with this one particular spirit. So I'm sure it could be that way with sounds as well. So it could be like an announcement from a specific spirit in the park that lets you know that it's nearby. That would be my guess anyway. Jono says, "I'm pretty sure Bigfoot is a spirit creature. I'm an enthusiast." Okay. Vanessa V says, "Hello, glad you're back." Hi, Vanessa. Nice to see you. Briar the Liar says, "It's like it calls me to an open area." Yeah. So maybe it's trying to make a connection and lead you to a better spot for communication. Grumpy Al says, "Yeah, I agree at Jono that Bigfoot is a spirit creature. But didn't look anything like Bigfoot. Again, not ape-like or yeah, humanoid, yes, but completely different look. Friar the Liar says, perhaps. Well, yeah, I'm guessing like everybody else. You're the one who's there. So I would like try and experiment with it and open up to it and see if you can get more information as a direct experience with what's going on. So I don't know if Ian's going to want to talk about some of the stuff that happened to him and he was there or not.
Oh, right here.
So Breyer says
There was one thing in particular I wanted to bring up. That's I saw an image of Mother Earth kind of directly. And what I saw, I think I would like to put in a painting. It was Mother Earth showed me her face directly under my feet. I thought that was a powerful image because that's kind of the situation we're in. Mother Earth is under our feet, and it's all it takes is one thing to damage or harm Mother Earth with our feet on her face, so to speak, walking on Mother Earth. I thought it was a perfect symbol. That's about the only thing really. I think I want to paint that and get that going, and I think it would be nice if I could get other artists wanted to paint the same thing with their feet on Mother Earth, and it's the image of what we can do to Mother Earth, and yet it's her face under our feet, so we should be careful not to harm her. Then, not going to be in the picture, but I thought you could also put in like a big rock and a thorn or something as far as what Mother Earth could do back to us. You know, we live on Mother Earth, so whatever happens to her is going to happen to us. But that was pretty neat because that was unexpected, not something I ever didn't try to experience as such. I didn't think I'd get that direct image right from Mother Earth directly like that. So that was what.
and it was a good heart connection too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It wasn't just a visual thing, but a very strong feeling thing. Yeah. So Breyer says they put up a razor fence too. Oh, unfortunate. Maria says, glad you're back. Thank you, Maria. Breyer says, that's why I can't investigate more while I could because there's a space I can get through there, but I don't know. Well, you could maybe invite it to come over to your side of the fence. So, I mean, if it is a spirit being that's trying to communicate, then it could potentially travel to you because a fence wouldn't be a barrier to it, even though it might be a barrier to you. So you could give that a try or try to mentally project over the fence, like sit underneath a tree on one side of it, close your eyes and move your mind's eye over to the other side and see if you could see or feel anything that way. Because if it is a spirit being, then, you know, physical barriers are something we can get around. Jano says, I've been really confused by underground water before. I thought I was going crazy. I was going crazy, but the sound of water wasn't a part of it. Fryer says, I feel like I could go near, but there's something strange about it. I don't want to go and step on a bear trap or something. And then I hear you and I agree. Yeah, so you definitely want to be cautious unless you have full confidence that this is the thing that you should be doing. I mean, I have ignored no trespassing signs when I was in Big Sur, and I was asked by the spirits of the area to heal the ley line and take care of the rock and the dead cats in the trees and all the other stuff that happened there. I was like, okay, I'm on a mission, and we're walking through the woods, and then there's this fence with a no trespassing sign, and I just hopped over it and kept on going because I had permission, in my view, to be there. And everything was fine, fortunately. But yeah, you have to make those choices in the moment. And safety for you isn't the same thing as safety for a spirit. they have certain things they don't have to worry about anymore, or at all. And there's probably other things they might have to worry about that we don't. I don't know. But yeah, interesting. Fryer says, because if I go through and get hurt, they could say it's my fault. Yep. They could. They could say, hey, there was a sign that said you're not supposed to go through, and you did anyway, so bully you, or something. I don't know. But yeah, it was fun. Sounds like a wind, too. It's interesting, is what it is.
There was some loud wind through the trees while we were up there.
That was entertaining, too. We could hear the wind coming before it got to us from quite a ways away. It's something that happens in a forest, as you can hear the trees moving and rustling, and then the sound coming through, and before the wind ever gets to you. So that was kind of neat. We thought we were going to be so hot there that we only brought a few things for the cold. It's a good thing we brought some stuff for the cold, or we would have really freezed our tushes off. Grant Hawkins says, can I ask an off-topic question about consecration? Absolutely.
Yes, and nothing's off topic as long as it's on
about
the topic
magic.
of magic.
Yeah. Beth says, I've been dream weaving so much lately, pretty typical for me, before, during, and after a Virgo moon, so I'm just resting and listening to everyone. Always take care of yourself. Fryer says, it's faint and it gets louder and becomes faint at times, too. All right. Yeah, and like we're catching up with some people, but we don't have to do the whole show on us catching up on stuff that happened to us while we were gone. So ask your question about consecration and we'll see what we can come up with. Trying to get back into the routine again is weird. After being in a one-room space for like 9 days. Jono says, I'm not saying what you heard is necessarily underground water, but the underground water I heard sounded like 100 mice running through long grass. Wow. Breyer says, laugh out loud, I understand. Some things just remain a mystery and we never do figure them out. I mean, and that's the thing, is like sometimes we cannot find an answer and we need to learn how to be okay with not knowing everything. I know that's hard for people. Like, no, I want to know. But hey, sometimes it's just the way it goes. You may never hear it again, or it may come close and tell you what it is, or it may always just be a mystery and not understanding. So yeah. Grant says, yay! Well, I only have my bedroom to work magic, etc. Is it okay to consecrate a bedroom as a temple, or should I just do the area where my altar is? Well, that's going to depend on you. My room has altars everywhere, so my room is basically consecrated because I cast a circle in it most nights. I do a lot of magic work in it. All of my wands and crystals and things are in my room, and it doesn't disturb my sleep. It's going to depend upon your own mental state and whether being in that kind of an energy environment all night long is going to disrupt your sleep or not. So you could experiment. You could start off by consecrating the altar where your magic stuff is, and then start to cast a circle before going to bed or something like that and see how it goes. I think it's a very individual sort of choice that people decide. Some people say, no, don't do it, it's a terrible idea. And I'm like, why exactly? So I think it's wherever you're at, I find it helpful because of the work that I do, and I get better quality sleep that way. I actually have my bed grounded so that I'm more in control of my mental space while I'm asleep. I'm not being bothered by everybody else's thought forms and that kind of thing for the most part. So the question was whether it's okay to consecrate your entire bedroom as a temple, or should you just do your altar? And I said it depends on your particular state, your mind, mental state, and whether it affects you positively or negatively or not. Because your room is pretty much a temple kind of space now,
Right.
as well as mine, because of all the stuff we do in there. It sort of happens naturally, even without an official consecration.
Either way, it depends. If you do a lot of, it depends on what you do with your bed. I mean, if you sleep in it, okay. If you end up doing a lot of, I don't know. I can't step in right in the middle of that, I guess. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But yeah, it's fine to have it be your temple. It depends. Aspects about temples are sometimes people want them to remain a temple and be used only as a temple to pardon me, so as to not do anything non-magical.
Right.
So we have that kind of approach in our outer temple, but I use my bedroom as a temple land for a lot of crafts and things.
Creativity,
Burning out tweeters.
meditation, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on whether you want to or not, really. There's
So
no real downside to doing so that I'm aware of.
and you can do it and then decide you don't like it, and you can undo it and just do your altar. Some people don't even think you should have an altar in your room, but I'm like, okay, whatever. Friar says, may I ask, have any of you ever heard of living spells? Creating living spells, that is. Not sure exactly what you mean by that.
Yeah, I haven't seen.
Spells that are constantly working? Or you're feeding them so they're alive, like an elemental kind of thing? Veronica says, hi Siofra, haven't joined Alive in a while. How was everyone's summer? We just came back from 9-day retreat in the wilderness. So it's been fun. Fire says, I've been experiencing with things like this, with creating living spells. Well, maybe you know more about it than we do. Grumpy Owl says, maybe that's where a strong current used to flow in the far past. It could be an area where high strangeness can happen. I've heard of this happening before. Briar says, she said something similar and it could be. Grant says, okay, that's what I was thinking, but I couldn't get an answer from anyone. Thank you so much. Well, you're welcome. But in the end, no matter, whether people give you answers or not, the decision for doing it or not doing it is entirely your own. There's no right or wrong thing here. It's like you can do it and decide you don't like it and stop doing it. You can not do it and then decide you want to try it. It's, I think, a personal decision. Me, I just have a hard time not building altars everywhere I go. I mean, right now in my bedroom, I've got a air altar, I've got a water altar, I've got an earth altar. The only thing I don't have is an official fire altar, and that's because that's where the head of my bed is. And I haven't figured out how to do something on my window or around my window, or I might put shelves up so I can do that. You never know. But yes. Grumpy Owl says, okay, yeah, I'm still packing unbelievably and missed that part. Fire says, yeah, giving it life. I meant experimenting, laugh out loud, but yes, I do know more about it. I was just wondering if anyone else has heard of it. You might want to give us more information about what it is, because if you're doing a spell correctly, then you should be giving it enough energy to do what you want it to do, if that's what you mean by giving it life. Beth says, oh my goodness, me too, Siofra. Altars all over the house. I just love it. Yeah. There's a flat space, right? What are you going to do with a flat space? A flat open space. You're going to put stuff on it, and if you're a witch, you're going to put stuff you like on it. And if you put stuff you like on it, it's going to turn itself into an altar. That's the way it works. Charity says, thank you all, always spiritually inspiring. Good. Good to hear that. Yeah, we're always trying to understand and figure things out. Beth says yes. Yeah, this is the truth. It is. So I also I'm going to do a video on my. I decided to do a cold reading on a bunch of my crystals I had with me, and so I would close my eyes and put a stone in my hand, and then see what energetic or physical effects that I got from it, or emotional effects I got from it, and I wrote them all down. And I haven't yet compared my notes of those stones to the other books that I have on crystals. I was just curious to see how that would work. But I did quite a few of them, and some of the results were interesting. I found that I had to get up and stretch and exercise when I did a ruby matrix stone. And I'm like, okay, well, I better not read this one unless I'm ready to get up and exercise and move around. So it was interesting anyway. So I'm going to look through all my notes about that and maybe do a video on it just to see how people feel about it, because it certainly was unusual. And then the fairies gave me an idea of what to do with smaller pieces. I mean, these are the bigger pieces that I showed you, but then there's a bunch of smaller ones, and I was sitting there, I was going to just throw them, back to the earth. And they were like, you could make hair ornaments out of these. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not a bad idea. So I peeled them as well. So we'll see how that works. Or little dedication stick decorations or whatever to put on an altar to dedicate to the Fae folk. And let them know you're a friend, I guess, to them, that kind of thing. Briar says, like giving it my energy to control it from the inside out. That says, when I was younger, I had less, but now I find they're everywhere, all the altars. Briar says, I created a golem it's kind of different to explain how magic is diverse. I know you're aware. Everyone has a way of doing magic. Mine is complex. Yeah, there's definitely some very detail-oriented, certain steps in an order kinds of magical paths out there. Ceremonialism and Hermeticism are two examples of that, and it works for some people. Not my style. It doesn't fit my brain, my energy and stuff. I'm a more, oh, look, something's wrong. There's an emergency. I need to fix it. What can I do? Well, this sounds like a good idea. Well, I never thought of that before, but hey, let's try it. And bam, it works. So I'm inspired. And that was one of the things. We took the crystals up there, the amethysts, for my granddaughter, for me, and for Ian, and put them under the yew tree to make a connection. We have part of the crystal with us, and part of the crystal is there to like make a magical energetic link. And we did that the last morning before we left, because I was going to do it that night, and we obviously weren't going to be able to stay until the actual full moon rose. So when I was doing it and I was talking to the tree and to the fairies and so forth, I spontaneously rhymed. I have no clue what I said now, except everything came out in rhyme. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I don't know if I could ever do that again, but it all made sense. So yeah, Bridget, one of my goddesses, likes spontaneous, creative utterances, so maybe that was her giving me that sort of inspiration. Jana says, when you mentioned grounding your bed, do you mean the copper wire and knife in the floor thing? Yes. If so, can you feel the difference when you're in an ungrounded bed, like when you were at the power spot? Oh yeah, at the power spot, I had to do some stuff I built a crystal array at the base of the bed by the fireplace for the crystals that we brought, to leave there, but also for protecting of the space. And the first night, I had to bring out my big guns, which is a charged up crystal that Ian gave me that blocks everything. And I tried talking to them. When I first got there that first night, everybody wanted to come in and, woo, look at that. Who's that? And I'm like, you guys need to leave me alone. I need to sleep. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And they just kept coming. And I'm like, don't make me bring out the big stuff. And they made me bring out the big stuff. So then they left me alone. But yeah, it is one of those things, when you're in a strange location, you have to be extra vigilant, I guess. I did a lot of the tree meditation when I was up there to ground myself and connect to the space and so forth, to feel like a part of it. For those critters that kept coming in and interrupting my sleep, it worked pretty well after that first night. So yeah, I have backups. Obviously, I'm not going to wrap an air mattress in wire and stab a knife into the floor. That might make it pop, which would be bad. But yes. Beth says, I find simple is more effective. Briar says, has anyone ever tried to give something life by using magical energy, the first step of creating a living spell? That would be like making an elemental, or I use my breath to give things life. I breathe on them and to energize them, which is a magical method that just sort of seems natural to me. Jano says, so many people wish to see spirit beings, but you have to tell them to knock it off. Yeah, I know. it's a it's like, I can only take so much, all right? I got 5 people or 5 beings all trying to vie for my attention. They all look different. They're all there at the same time. It's like, enough. Stop it. Briar says, I'm sorry, I'm slow at typing. That's okay.
There's lots of things you can give life by magical energy.
I use planetary energy a lot.
Some of the religions like Udon, Santeria, Palo, and things like that may use staffs that are brought to life one way or another. The Santeria deities are brought to life and given birth when they're formed. From your copy of one, and you get like an Eliwa. He's like a little head with a little concrete head with a face on him, usually of cowrie shells, and nail out the top or something like that. Those are given life, given a birth
date and death date.
And the same thing happens with some Hindi statues. When they're dedicated, they're brought to life and given a birthday and everything, brought to life and formed in that sense. So yeah, there's a lot of things in elementals, elementaries, and things like that.
We just did a video on enlivening a statue, one of our more recent ones, on my statue of Aurora, the goddess of the dawn. So that would be another way to give it life. We give it life with the elements. So yeah, there's a lot of different methods. And the planetary stuff, I do a lot of planetary work with my wands and so forth. And when I created, I had to, this power spot that we were on is a public area where people go there and like rent the house that we were in all year round. And it's been several years since we were there. So I came with mostly all of my wands when I got there, and I wanted to clear out the energy because we'd had some issues with some thought forms that had gotten stuck in there and were wandering around harassing us the last time. And so I did like a planetary and energetic setup with the crystals and the wands. I put some pictures up on my page of the setup. So if people want to know what I did, they can look at it. And of course, I made each of those wands as a individual thing. It's just now that I have all of the planets and most of the elements. I only brought my air and water wands, though I left my Akaja wand. I still need to make a fire and earth wand, so I still have 2 wands to construct, and I haven't decided exactly what they're going to entail, although I have the parts for the fire wand collected. I have to decide on the wood for that. It hasn't felt like the right time yet, but I use the energies of of like Mars and Saturn, and my banishing wand to start clearing out the negative energy, and then push them through the water wands, like the lunar, Venusian, my water wand, and what's the other one? Jupiter, for cleansing the negative energy that was being pushed through, and then brightening it up with Mercury, the solar wand, and my air wand, and then putting that into a celestite and out into my staff. And it was interesting that each of those pictures had some kind of a weird mist blob in it. And at first I thought it was like a camera artifact, but it's in every picture and in a different location. So I don't think it's a camera artifact. I think it's actually the energy of the place going through, being led through and cleared out so that it could be more of its normal self without all that human stuff added to it. So it's very interesting. So I guess that would be a complicated kind of thing that I do, but I do it spontaneously. Jono says, Breyer, I made a servitor once. It felt alive. Breyer says, interesting. I can use copy magic. I can use any type of magic by copying it in any way, by seeing it, etc. So as you can guess, I can use a lot of magic and even combine them to use them too. Well, yeah, I'm very eclectic that way myself. Like what you need, what works, is what you do. Jono says, Luna shared a pic of your wands laid out on a table with me. You really like wands. Yeah. I really like wands. You can make them do anything you want. Shay says, happy Sunday. Hi, Shay. Thank you for joining in. Luna says, hi, all. Hi, Luna. And Breyer says, because of my power, I've rarely had anything ever try to mess with me. Well, this is always good. To not have things mess with you. And Jono says, hi, Luna. Luna says, how are you, Siofra, and Ian? We're doing pretty good. Getting back into our routines or whatever, and slipping back into our lives a little bit, but trying to maintain that connection that we got when we were out there. Jono says, Luna, they haven't answered your question yet. What question was that? I don't know. We have answered, how are we doing? Beth says, I love Siofra's wands. They're not only beautiful, but the energy is incredible, sincere, and pure. Well, thank you, Beth. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of these wands that the tree let me have, so I can make more fairy wands. So, yeah, I'm excited about the possibilities. That's the thing about a wand, is that you can sort of tune it to whatever kind of energy you need and want. Why I like the planetary wands, so I could really tune into the planetary energies of each of those, and the elemental wands, and all of that stuff is like more than just a general wand for casting a circle or for doing a spell or sending energy through a cone out into the world after you raise it up and that kind of thing. Jono says, Luna has a question she wants to ask. Luna says, my pics of the power spot I visited have some weird rainbows and mist, etc. I'll share in the Facebook group. Siofra, how did you know that the power spot needed healing? Okay, from our previous visit, Ian was meditating and he got a very bizarre thought for him that just popped into his head, which has nothing to do with him, anything he's ever thought about, anything he's ever done, or whatever. So it was very clear when he got that thought that someone had stayed there who was not a nice person. And the thing about a power spot is whatever you are, whoever you are, whatever kind of energy you have is amplified when you go to a power spot. So that means that negative people are amplified just as much as positive people. And since it's a place so many people go to, and it's not like the power spot at the Medicine Wheel in southern Saskatchewan, very few people go there not knowing it's a power spot. This is a place you can rent, and it wasn't until the first year we arrived that I realized it was a power spot. So I cleansed it out that time, so I knew, since it'd been like 4 or 5 years, I think, since we'd been able to go, that there would be an accumulation of stuff that was there. And I wanted to make sure I could clear that out so we could sort of start on a fresh slate. I want to get the best and the most out of an experience like that and not have to be dealing and fighting off other people's stupid thought forms because, it's annoying. Very few people are clear. and it's like sometimes it's hard to be a clear person in an unclear world. But yeah, so that's how I knew because I'd had previous experience with it. And so I came prepared. I had them all with me. And I'm like, okay, guys, we're all going to come along because I want to do the best job because it's been a long time. And I think it worked out quite well. Now it says, how did you heal the power spot? And it says, thank you. Well, I put in the crystals and the wands and I moved the energy because I could tell which direction the energy was coming through. Because it's also power spots connected to a ley line. And so I took the negative side of the energy field and moved it through the wands for that purpose and then into the other wands and then into the other wands and then out the other side. So when it came out the other side, it was a lot less congested and icky and more like how it's supposed to be. I think that may be one of the reasons why I ended up meeting the forest troll was because of doing that and, trying to tune into the space. So yeah, it's an instinctive thing. It's kind of like if you find a muddy river and it's all like backed up and there's a bunch of gunk that's in it. And, a bunch of mosquitoes have laid a bunch of larvae in there and it's just gotten brackish and kind of smelly and stagnant. It's that kind of thing, except on an energetic level. And what I did was clear the channel to let the energy move like it's supposed to. And then it did the rest. So I hope that answers that question. I think that answers that question as well as it can be answered. Linda says, at Jono, did you tell Siofra about the land guardian? Yeah, he did mention the land guardian that he was making friends with, which I thought was awesome. It's good to have a relationship with a land guardian. We have one in our area that tried to warn me about a person who was staying in our house once and came into my house, which was kind of a surprise because it's as big as my house. So it kind of filled up the space. It was hard to ignore, but I didn't understand why it was there until later. So Kara Lee says, hello, happy Sunday. Hi, Kara. Nice of you to join us. Yeah, so, yeah, it's, life is interesting. It just keeps on happening. Also had a few visions, too. Had a couple of visits by a couple of different goddesses, which was interesting. Neither of which I've ever seen before, so I'm not sure exactly who they were. I think one of them was actually Shakti, the first one. And it was very interesting because, she had long, wavy black hair, and she was wearing a very long veil, shawl kind of veil or whatever, but one side of it was like on the front of her head coming down, the other side was on the back going down, so it was very distinctive, very colorful. It was very beautiful. And the other goddess had a stylized kind of dragon sculpture that I think was alive that was part of her hair or her head. It was like laying on top of her head and coming up over her like that. And I kept trying to figure out where the rest of it was going. Like, is the rest of it going down her spine or is it like wrapped around her because I couldn't see that part? And I did tune into Spider, actually, just before that, as a possible totem of mine on my crown chakra, which I thought was interesting since we had talked about Spider before we left. Beth says, our neighborhood behind us cover 50 trees. There's only about 4 or 5 left. It broke my heart. And what is left of the trees are so angry, and I love and nurture on them every day. I'm sorry. That's sad. Especially if they don't need to be, cut down for safety or anything. Fryer says there are many ways to create living things, like using sigils, for example. You then put that sigil inside what you want to make living. Not talking about living spells. MS at the moment, I think. Wanted to be. Yeah, Ian uses sigils quite a bit. Luna says, I did a fire walk a couple of weeks ago at the site of the power spot. I've wanted to do this for over 40 years. Just want to say to anyone here, don't ever give up on your dreams. Well, congratulations. That's a powerful thing to do. Beth says, I'm angry with this woman as well, and I don't want to be that kind of person. She kills life, husbands, trees. She doesn't care. That's a terrible neighbor. Yuck. I'm sorry. That's terrible. Donna says, not yet. I've mentioned I wanted to before. I did a spontaneous ritual and asked the land guardian of this place very politely to help me. First ever contact. Came in through the door, small, saw I was confused. Cool. Friar says, I meant I wasn't talking about living spells. Right. Not talking about living spells. I got that. But I guess the MS, yeah, the M was a mistake and the space was a mistake. Gotcha. Okay. I'm so glad we cleared that up. But yeah, sigils are a good way to get in touch with spirit beings, since each one of them have their own kind of sigil. Luna says, don't think I'd get to fire walk, especially a few years ago when my life wasn't my own. I used energy of the fire, which I channeled to charge feed a sigil I've been working with all year. Awesome. Friar says, yep. Nano says that it was small, then when it was inside it grew so that it had to slouch because the ceiling wasn't high enough. Beautiful experience. Yeah, they are quite big. They certainly can be. I'm so happy. That's a good thing to have that kind of direct spirit connection with something that you know is there because you can't deny it. Every cell in your body says there's something here, I can feel it. And that's that goes beyond imagination. The people who don't have those sorts of experiences think that it's just an imaginative exercise or crazy or whatever. But if you ever actually experience a consciousness, non-human consciousness that has its own sense of being and is external to you, once you experience that, you know that they're real. There's just no question about it. There's not like something you have to think about anymore. Like, there it is. Pryor says, it's a hobby of mine to spread sigils around places. I did so at the park I mentioned earlier. Okay. Perhaps my sigils created something, perhaps. Or woke something up, perhaps. I don't know. But, that's the thing. Life is interesting and fascinating and full of opportunities, and then you have to make your choices. And Fire says, true. Beth says, that's such a great feeling, something you'll hold in your heart forever. I love nature spirits so much, and I'm thankful that they love me too. Yeah, it helps me feel accepted and not alone. To know that I'm not dependent for my sense of self completely on humans and their acceptance of me. That the universe acknowledges me for who I am and sees me for who I am. And that's the thing about working with spirit beings and fairies and stuff like that. They see your true nature. You can't really hide it from them. So if they have a positive feeling towards you, that's coming from a pretty pure place. And that's a good indicator of your own clarity, that you've cleared out a bunch of crap. And they accept us for where we're at without trying to make us into something else, which frees us up to become whatever it is we want to be or who we truly are. Gives us less friction, I guess, on our souls to try and conform to a specific shape to please people in our lives, which is certainly a thing a lot of people have to do. So Julia says, oh dang, that nap lasted far too long. Skitters into place, listening eagerly, smiling. Hey, Julia. Yano says, this land guardian is a really good guy. I always sensed that, but actual experience made it so incredibly real. I should do an offering, actually. Yeah, it's an awesome thing to do. Good thing. Beth says, I've never had anything but positivity and love and wonderful company. They're so precious to me. Yeah, and I think they value us as much as we value them because, the gap or the chasm between humans and the rest of the universe is pretty large. Uh, Most people aren't paying any attention, don't want to pay attention, are busy with their own lives and their own distractions or whatever it is that they've got going on. And so when they see one of us, they recognize us right away and they value us as much as we value them, because this gives them an opportunity to share and communicate and so forth, and um, help us integrate, I guess, in becoming a part of reality. Breyer says, a good story about Mother Earth I'm willing to share with y'all. A few years ago, my disabled brother ran off because he was upset about something. He ran into the woods and stayed there for almost, I don't know how long, because that will come in later. Grumpy Al says, I always find it bizarre when others tell you what you saw. Example, you saw a shadow created by the sun. Meanwhile, you know what you saw. Yeah, it's true. And Beth says, Jono, yes, an offering would be perfect. You got this. Yeah. So we'll get the rest of Breyer's story in a second. I'm sure he's typing madly along. He's going to let us know what happened after his disabled brother ran off into the woods and stayed there. Got me on the edge of my seat. I want to know. But their relationships like anything else. A week well after the first day of not finding him, he stayed there for a week. I prayed to Mother Earth to protect him, and he came home after a few days, and I have forever been grateful. Well, good. Beth says, I know, don't leave us in suspense. He answered. So, brother is safe. Mother Earth protected him. Good outcome. That's always a good thing. Breyer says, laugh out loud. And these things come in different orders, It's like Google or YouTube or whatever doesn't know that this is a story that we need to have a continuous hearing for. And they just split it up, whatever it is comes in there first. But it says, I was reading for Querent at our occult store last week. She mentioned that she had a spirit guide, and no sooner than she had, this energy came in and literally blew into me. Ooh, like a wind turbine blowing out spirit energy. Sounds cool. Beth says, has anyone seen the new Smuckers commercial where they don't see Mother Earth and they say Father Earth? I don't know how I felt about that. Well, Mother Earth is off doing her thing and Father's home taking care of the children and all the other businesses, so I think I feel okay about that.
I haven't seen the ad, but we've
seen
saw
several.
Mother Earth, yeah.
We've seen several of the Smuckers commercials.
Well, I don't pay attention to it.
Yeah. And usually it's father, and then he's like, uh-oh, be careful. Mom's not happy today. She's going to blow in a wind. But yeah, I think it's great that Father Earth is taking care of the kids. So Mother can get her work done. Breyer says, yeah, the bad thing is, to the police didn't help at all, even though they said they were. I was enraged when they tried taking the credit, but it is what it is. Beth says, don't make Mama mad.
Where all those at?
Mm-hmm.
It's not nice.
Well, that's a different one.
Yeah.
It's not nice to piss off Mother Nature. Yeah. That's a different commercial, but the same idea. Donna says, for smaller fae, I've done a lot of oats and milk. I have no idea what to offer a big thing like a land guardian. I'll figure it out. Maybe a really big charged stone in the garden. That's not a bad idea. They do like stones. Standing stones, sacred stones. Sounds like a good idea to me. And they're a land guardian, and stones are a big piece of land. Luna says the energy wasn't icky, but it was very stern and solid, if that makes sense. Did a cleansing with the other shop witch dancing around me with selenite and me stamping and dousing my hands. Ha! It sounds like a good idea with Florida water. Yeah, you don't want to have uninvited guests intruding upon your space. So yeah, definitely you need to shore up your defenses and make sure they don't just pop in and do their thing on you. Desiderata says land guardian like booze. Well, some of them might. It depends on the land guardian. Beth says they love honeybee, love made sacred stones, whatever feels right for you. Yes. The one that I met here wanted tobacco because it's a Native American land guardian, and that's what it was expecting from the woman who lived in the house who was a smoker and was quite annoyed with her when she wasn't offering it any of her tobacco. And I also offered it a pati tier for honoring the terrible things that have happened on the land here and acknowledging what the land guardian has been through and what it's witnessed and so forth, as a way of making amends in a sense and making a commitment from ourselves to be better guardians of the land. Beth says, yes, the guardians do love their good booze. Make sure you put out some good Scottish whiskey. They love that. Again, depends on the guardian.
Now, what does it take to pretend I'm a land guardian so somebody will put out the good Scottish whiskey for me?
I don't know.
How do I fake that? I'll come up with something.
Yeah, good luck.
Put out the whiskey. Put out the whiskey.
I don't think anyone around here cares about land guardians except us, so.
I'll stop causing you trouble. Put
Yeah.
out the whiskey.
Briar says, oh, I almost forgot it was wintertime when he left, and I was worried sick for him, but every day a bird came by, and it looked at me, and it was like it was telling me he's okay. Good. Jono says, thanks, Dizzy. So do I. We'll get along fine. Tobacco? Good grief. Maybe I'm a land guardian. Well, I don't know about where you are in Africa. You know, you might want to look up some African traditions and find out what the traditional people who lived there gave their guardians, and if you have something like that to give or not. It's always a good idea to know what they are. Like I said here, tobacco is definitely one of the things, and also other things too. But Luna says that Beth, I like Scottish whiskey too. Be careful you don't end up with me in your garden. Briar says, then when my brother was safe, he told me how he survived, was a werewolf watching over him the entire time, and then I know it was Mother Earth shape-shifting. Well, that's pretty powerful. I'm glad your brother was fine. Beth says, Luna, you're welcome to come play in my garden anytime, but I'll have a wine spritzer. Ruth says, how do you know you have a land guardian, I'm assuming? Well, you can feel them. They're not everywhere. Not every piece of land has one, since they usually are in charge of a pretty large area, but they're still out there. So, sense it, I guess. Fire says, I love wine. Luna says it, Beth, it's a date then. Beth says, Ruth, you just know in your bones. Yeah, it's pretty much. Donna says, good point, Siofra. I've got to make some corn beer. That's the currency here. All right. Beth says, Luna, you're welcome anytime. Yes, it's a date. Yes, so, yeah, I mean, every part of the world has got its own traditions, and the spirit beings that exist in those areas grow up with those traditions. It's like that's how the humans, the Aboriginal people, made friends with the spirits of the land. They developed these forms of communication with gifts and offerings and that kind of stuff, and rituals and so forth. So yeah, doing a little bit of knowing what they're expecting. I'm sure they can adapt, but if you start off from a communal place, it's probably a good idea. Common ground. Beth says, I'm in the Smoky Mountains, Tennessee. The nature spirits tend to almost like everything. Well, that's good. And of course, they're busy doing their own thing, too, so not like they're going to play with us all the time. It'd be exhausting. I had to play with the fairies constantly. Duzzy says, I brought mine here, a glass jar of this Turkish honey with nuts like pistachio and almonds soaked in it. It felt like it really liked it, but spirits for the spirit seem good. Meat is great too. Great ideas. Beth says, I think it's the intention behind the gift. That has a lot to do with it, definitely. because that's where they sense us. They sense us on that pure emotional, spiritual level, and they know where we're coming from. So if we accidentally offend them, but we do it with a pure heart, with no intention of offending them, they will most likely accept it anyway. And maybe try to learn us, teach us something, but they're not going to, like, take out a baseball bat and whack you in the head.
Well, I was offering a bunch of stuff to spirits, figuring it was an old Native American use. Their inn used to offer them tobacco, and the spirits at that time told me not to offer tobacco because it was meaningless to me and to Siofra because we didn't use it for our own purposes at all. And it didn't mean anything to us. It was just they wanted something from me at that time that meant something, and something we use. So offering sage and that type of thing was useful in that instance.
Yeah, and I grew that sage in our own garden, so it had a lot more personal energy and connection and meaning to it. So yeah. Friar says, has anyone here summoned living beings such as dragons? And no, I don't mean evil entities. Well, I mean, I've certainly encountered a whole bunch of them. I don't know that I've summoned them, though. I've seen dragons. I've had some pretty serious encounters with a few of them that, could have ended badly for me. So I guess not really. Hadi says, in Ghana, we offer them alcohol and tobacco and sweets. Yep. Friar says, I summoned a dragon before, a light dragon. My brother and I saw it, its wings, its head, its everything. My brother, who has done magic, was impressed. Cool. Beth says, more of an invitation or just innocently running into them, but once again, I've never had a problem. We all get along. Yeah, me too. Luna says, finally managed to get my hands on sweetgrass. It smells so good, unlit, that I haven't wanted to light it yet, like marzipan and hay. Well, it smells just as good when it's burning. It is, and it leaves a lingering, wonderful smell behind. So, yeah. Desi says, at Hadi, same here in Northern California. Jano says, Ghana, hello friend, I'm in South Africa. Is it safe for you to be here? I'm really glad you're here, but I've read some stuff about Ghana recently. I haven't, so I don't know what's going on. Is there a civil war or something happening, or fires, or danger of some kind? Yeah, we don't get that much news from other countries. We barely get news from our own. But yeah, so I hope you're safe. Beth says, dark magic. What about it? Luna says, maybe I won't hold back on lighting sweetgrass then, although it's difficult to get hold of here. I'm going to try and grow my own. I tried this year. They sent me the seeds that were said that they were sweetgrass, and they turned out not to be sweetgrass at all after I grew them. So I have sage now, so the white sage. I started in my garden, and it's taken. I've got 4 good-sized plants, so next year I should be able to harvest some. And then I'm going to see about finding a more legitimate site for getting sweetgrass starts and get some of my own sweetgrass going.
Oh, so, when they send you something and it ain't what you ordered.
Yeah, that was very annoying. And then you couldn't get your money back because it takes so long to find out that their seeds are wrong that they won't give you back your money. Like, yeah, okay, I'm not buying from you again, that's for sure. Jono says, crack down on witchcraft and gay rights and stuff. Oh, in Ghana. Beth says, not everybody dark magic, but it does happen. I had a friend from there. Was that in Ghana? Fire says, South Africa has had its war problems. Luna says, sorry to hear about the dud seeds. Well, yeah, especially after I got them growing, and they turned out to be some weird kind of pernicious weed that people use to break up brick on buildings to make them look nicer while they're just being destroyed. I'm like, no, I don't need that on my house. Thank you very much. Beth says, spiritual oppression. Oh, that's not good. No. Hadi says it's safe here, so good. Hadi is safe. Julia says, please share the source, if you would, of a good sweetgrass source when you do find one. I will. I figure I'll wait until spring at this point. I don't think I'm going to be growing it in my house, although it's a possibility, but the cat might want to eat it. I'm not sure how that works with cats, since we still have Bugsy. Desi says that John O. Human Rights, yep, maybe we should not use the W word today. Fryer says, I heard it's because authority disputes, too. Beth says, Harding, stay safe. Everyone stays safe. Donna says, Breyer, South Africa is a basket case, I'm well aware. We actually have legislation which makes it illegal to accuse someone of being a witch because of kangaroo courts in the rural areas. But yeah, it's just horrendous. Talk about collective insanity. Superstition run amok, and justification for horrific torture and murder. Of course, it's happened all over the planet, not just in South Africa. Certainly, although the British didn't burn their witches, they certainly hung them and killed them and tortured them like the rest of Europe. So they really weren't any better. But yeah, that superstition, fear kind of thing is dangerous. And if it weren't for certain laws, they'd probably still be burning us at the stake or hanging us here in this country too. If they thought they could get away with it, they would.
I've certainly run across people that would if they could.
Yeah. And they feel justified in doing so. Fryer says, it's sad but true. Yes. I mean, prejudice and stuff like that, danger to life and limb for no reason whatsoever, is still pretty rampant across the planet. No matter whether you're gay, you're a woman, or you're a member of an alternative religion, really, they don't need much. Not a member of their particular brand of church going, whatever. Some places, that's enough to get you going. So, yeah. Adi says that Jono, witchcraft and voodoo is common here, so I have no problem. Gay rights is, on the other hand, and not a thing here. Sorry to hear that. Fryer says it's an excuse for murder, it's madness, yes. As he says, maybe invisibility glamour would be a good to explore today. How to hide in plain sight. Ha! Grumpy Al says it's a lack of education for those type of people. Well, I think that they purposely don't want to be educated because a lot of them refuse to actually hear anything anyone has to say on the subject. They want to stay where they're at because learning new things apparently is dangerous to their way of life or their sense of purpose and reality. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, but, you know, I'm not that kind of a person. Like, I have boundaries, there's no doubt about it. Certain things are not okay with me. And, you know, I, like, stop that kind of thing. But, yeah, I don't judge people based on some weird external or social criteria. I had a situation yesterday morning. I was on my local Facebook group. And a person who works for the fire department posted a horrendous statement that if he was on a call and someone that he thought was homeless or didn't like, I guess, for whatever reason, was overdosing on the narcotics, he would not give them Narcan. And I actually made a copy of the post and I sent the post to the fire department because he used his name. And I don't know if they're going to look into it or not. I've done what I can, but I said, you really shouldn't have someone who thinks like this working for you because I wouldn't want them coming to my door or anyone else I know and deciding life or death decisions based upon their own personal criteria about whether someone deserves to live or not. So I was very upset. So it was my granddaughter. She helped me with, you know, figuring out what to do because I'm like, I have to do something about this. And one person commented on the guy's post and said, this is some real evil shit. What the hell is wrong with you? You know, how can you call yourself a Christian and a pro-lifer if you're saying stuff like this, because this is seriously anti-life in the worst way. And they took his post, the comment, down. Not the main one, but the guy who objected to it. It was gone the next time I looked, which was like 10 minutes later. So, I've the fact is there's people like that everywhere, and it's just astonishing to me that people think it's okay to say stuff like that out loud and in print on the internet with their own name
to it.
And sign their name to it. So I hope I got this guy's. I hope he loses his job, because he shouldn't be in that field. This is wrong. It's not right at all. So, anyway, enough of that. Let me get back up here. I ranted on for a while. Pryor says, even though people know I do magic and don't like it, people won't mess with me, and I look intimidating too. Well, good. Gabrielle says, hearing them say psychics or devil worshippers, meanwhile they have intuition and pray to God and get their answers sometimes that way. Yeah, I know. Hadi, Jono says, Hadi, I'm glad you can practice your craft. Sorry, I was misinformed. And Breyer says, I meant people don't like that I do magic, but they won't get in my way of my beliefs. Yeah, I don't care if they like what I do or not, so long as they leave me alone. Absolutely. I don't want anyone to do what they don't want. I'm very firm about that. They have a right not to practice witchcraft, and I'm all for it. Especially if that's the kind of person they are, I don't want them knowing how to do that. Then it says, you should see the reactions I get at our occult store when I offer certain customers a reading. Some cross themselves and dramatically step away from me, saying, no, I most definitely do not.
Well,
do they flash the evil eye at you too or something? I guess crossing is their version of that. And Beth says, Friar the Liar, I was like that when I was young. I've mellowed out now. Now I take the approach of cloaking myself with good intentions. Grumpy Al says, wow, I work as a harm reduction outreach worker. For them to say that is awful. I know. It's like, and my granddaughter went on a rant about it. She said he could get addicted to drugs. He could overdose himself on drugs. His mother could be on pain medications and drink alcohol and then maybe die. It's like there's lots of situations. It's not just heroin addicts and, low lives, as he liked to put it. But yes, that says that Luna, oh my goodness, we must know each other. I've had the exact same thing happen. You just have to laugh. Luna says, then they continue chatting to the witch who owns the shop. Don't think they realize he's a witch or that they are in a spell regent store, which is the description the owner uses for a store. The obliviousness of people is quite adorable.
I'm glad somebody thinks so.
Grumpy Owl says, gotta screenshot that stuff. I did. Fryer says, you need not hide yourself, Beth. They're cowards. They would not dare challenge us. Linda says that Beth, honestly, some people. Beth says, oh my, I meant witch. Desi says, so, glamour workings? Beth says, I'm using my speaker and it's not understanding my accent. I'm sorry about the B word. AJ says, I found you by searching for information on scrying. I've been binge watching your lives since my birthday on 8/13. What a gift. Well, welcome and thank you. We appreciate that. And you watched the live just before we went on our trip because we weren't here the next week or the week after. But we did the 19th, yeah. Grumpy Al says, yes, it can happen to anyone in all walks of life. Fire says, it's okay, Beth, we understand. Beth says, Luna, I know they just really go in there because I like the stones and maybe the candles. We were older and wiser. I prefer to be kind. Sarah says, I still don't know how to screenshot stuff. I should learn. Yeah, I copied the comment and in this case and his name. I went to his Facebook page to see if I could figure out which fire department he worked at, but we couldn't quite figure that out. Found a few things out about the things that he likes, and they're kind of telling in my book. But, yeah. But he had his name, so I figured everybody, this is a small town, So no matter which of the small fire departments around here he works for, everyone's going to know who he is. So I'm hoping that someone will take it seriously. Of course, if they secretly agree with him, they might just throw it in the trash and say, I don't know what you're talking about. I never got that. You can only do so much. You do what you can, and if you're not in a position of authority to actually follow through with it, then you're sort of stuck.
We live in, I like our community okay, but it's not particularly enlightened as far as magical stuff goes or anything either. There's a lot of other things around.
Beth says, Briar the liar. Taylor says, hello, chat. Hi, Taylor. Beth says, Kara, I'm still trying to remember my passwords. I could do complicated things, but I can't keep up with the password. I like some of those password memes, where the old people are trying to get a password, and then they end up with this big, huge, long sentence of screaming at the thing and telling, in no uncertain terms to let them now. And it says, sorry, this password is already in use. Luna says that Beth, these people regularly come in asking for Harry Potter merchandise. It drives the owners crazy. Yeah. I remind him that some witches like Harry Potter, but he refuses to sell it. Well, I mean, yeah. It's interesting. When it comes to fiction and magic and reality, I have a client, she's a super Harry Potter fan, and she was really concerned when she found out I might make an Elder Wand, because apparently that's the evil wand in Harry Potter, I think. Whichever one it was. And then she also decided she didn't like the Egyptian gods anymore because she watched Stargate. And that they were, yeah. So,
oh, yeah?
Yeah, that was the same one. It's like, what? Okay. Fiction. It's a real thing. It doesn't mean that it's real. It's entertaining and interesting, and I love the shows, but it's fiction.
Yep.
Briar says, I was thinking of something. There's a lot of people that accuse people of bad things when it comes to magic, but they're just people hiding behind God, groping up to justify madness. Yeah, probably. I mean, they didn't even know what magic is, so how can they, And also, the Christians don't like Harry Potter. In at least here in the States, I accidentally saw a program about on the Christian channel. I was flipping through or something, and I'm like, oh, they're talking about Harry Potter. What do they think? Oh my God. Okay, all of it's real. They're teaching children how to do spells and how to make pacts with the devil, and I'm like,
if they try it that way, then good luck to them.
I know, but yeah, panic. Satanic panic is back. Beth says, the Harry Potter ones are really beautiful. There are some girls on YouTube and they recreate them. They are so talented.
That's true. Nothing against the aesthetics and stuff. The Harry Potter shows are great, but they're just not factual. That's not that simple.
Yeah. If it was just as simple as being able to pronounce something correctly, wouldn't that be nice? Julia says, oh my God, really? About Stargate? Ugh, what they made Thor look like. Little gray guy, really?
Well, hey,
Jono says Stargate was awesome. What are those guys with the parasites called again? Goa'uld. That's what they're called.
Yep.
I don't know how to say it. I know how to say it. I don't know how to spell it. I think it's GO''AULD or something like that.
I think that's pretty darn close.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Anyway, Grumpy Owl says addiction is affecting the indigenous community heavily in my area, and I want to help bring them back to their heritage. It's like the residential schools did, take their heritage away in the long run. Well, yeah, and actually when I was up in British Columbia, there was a program to help alcoholics, native alcoholics, that was a sweat lodge program that they started that was helping them a lot, getting back into their rituals and heritage and that kind of thing. Getting back to the grounding roots and stuff of their people, I think is important because, kind of lost. Sandcat says, Ian, I miss living where there are enlightened magical people too.
Yeah.
But they're so few and far between.
Yeah, I like, at least when I lived in Ashland, there were a few more of them around in the Ashland area, but
And Santa Cruz had a lot
Yeah.
at the time when I was there.
But this place has good weather all the time, and Ashland always had a hill I had to go up this hill to go to work, and I'd always slide down the hill, and my tires were spinning, and I barely make it up to the top. And it's like, and that was pretty much, the business was pretty much in town too. That was just going up into Ashland. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
snow, driving in it. Yeah. Good thing about the coast, none of that.
Yeah. Not yet. Let's hope.
Very little.
Luna says that Julia doesn't stop him stocking endless Masters of the Universe merchandise. He's obsessed with He-Man. Well, good for him. Grumpy Owl says, I could go on and on with that, so I do want to do some magic working with this, just not sure what. And Beth says, there's a nice scattering of magical people where I live, all different denominations. I've only had positive interactions, good people. Always a plus. Sarah says, on Long Island, New York, there's no problem being a pagan witch. Awesome. Donald says, in fairness, Herman is as cool as Stargate, or He-Man is as cool as Stargate. I think my son had a He-Man doll when he was a kid.
A lot of them liked him, yeah.
Grumpy Owl says, yeah, I'm part indigenous. My brother had an alcohol problem, and he did go through that program with the Sweat Lodge, and he had an interesting experience. Cool. Desi says, actually, I don't think most spirits know the difference between fact and fiction. There's definitely been some weirdness stirred up because of that. Also thinking about egregores.
Egregore.
Well, that might be some of those giant heads I'm seeing. Sandcat says, Christians hate Harry Potter here in New Zealand also. It's sad because the movies are great and they're missing out. Just fun stories.
Yeah, really. What they are.
Yeah, fun coming of age stories, and I always like the magic and the mutant and weird powers and stuff like that. Books, stories, movies, whatever. I could comic books, whatever I could get my hands on, since I could relate. And it was like, wow, there's maybe people out there like me. I'm not alone. Julia says, I am old. My son was a toddler when He-Man was ongoing. Got him a big castle thing and the dolls. Oh, the days of dealing with son instead of daughter. Maybe they could talk sometime. Beth says, oh yeah, I have a girlfriend that lives in Long Island. She's pagan. Luna says, Ian, thank you for the meditation video.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad you got something out of it.
Desi says, I joined in late. Sorry, giant heads? Yeah, at the power spot when we were gone, I sky gaze and I see figures in the sky, and they're kind of like line drawings, but very detailed. And I saw some things I didn't care for. Last time I was there, I saw some more cool stuff, but I saw an eagle twice, first going towards the rising sun, then going towards the setting sun the next day. I kept seeing this giant angry head with mouth mouthing some words that I couldn't understand because I couldn't hear them. I could see his mouth moving. Didn't like him. I saw a bat creature that turned into like Mothman and went right over my head. He had like these very goblin-esque looking. He had these really sharp pointy ears like this and a very sort of elongated head and bat wings. And I thought Mothman. When I thought about him later, I did see an owl spirit, which was like sort of static, which was interesting. His wings were out. He just sort of didn't move his wings, but his whole body kind of moved with his wings and stuff. And then I think I saw Odin at one point. He was a big head, and he had an eye patch and a beard, and he kind of filled up part of the sky. I think I'm seeing collective thought forms from different groups of people that it's like this group of people all think in the same way, is creating their own individual thought forms, which are similar enough that are like joining together and becoming a giant thought form. But I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure what to make of it, so it was interesting.
That place makes a person prone to clairvoyant stuff normally, but it didn't affect me that way. This year's the first year it didn't really affect me that way, other than seeing Mother Earth. I didn't get that much clairvoyant stuff.
Well, there was the other thing.
I did have some other things, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
Which I'm okay with.
Well, we're just about We're at an hour and a half, so we need to wrap it
Oh,
up.
are we?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Luna says Harry Potter was fun the first 75 times around. My eldest kids went through the Harry Potter thing when it first came out. Now the youngest are into it. Oh, yay. Sandcat said my sisters and I had all the Princess of Power dolls. We used to pretend to be them. It was magical time that I loved. Fun. Jano says, Dizzy, I know you're a crypto enthusiast. You missed out tonight. Siofra also saw a troll. I did. A forest troll, not a mountain troll. Beth says, Luna, my kids liked it too. I was kind of over it after the 100th time, but it's a nice fantasy movie. Fire says, my spirit hawk follows me wherever I go. Always smile and thank it for guiding me always. Taylor says, did you see the giant head as a cloud? No, there were no clouds, because I saw a large cloud head that looked like it was blowing the wind during the full moon. There were no clouds, and this was during the day, in the blue sky. Desi says,
I was gonna say I didn't mention it to you at the time, but I also saw like a cloud guy blowing the winds during the storm thing. He had these big eyebrows in particular.
When we did have a thunderstorm.
Yeah.
I did see some in the clouds, but I don't think that's
one
when
of
I
these
saw.
traditional pictures you see in like in Agrippa or something.
Right.
When they draw a little picture. It was one of those.
Boreas, the north wind.
Yeah, something like that with this, the whole.
Yep. Desi says that Jono, yep, love me some cryptids, trolls, yay. Luna says, thank you all, blessings for the week ahead. Jono says, thank you for the show. You're welcome, Jono.
Thank you all for being here.
And Beth says, thank you for the wonderful life and all your beautiful magical people. Stay in peace, joy, magic, and love. Yes, I like all those.
Excellent.
Excellente. Yep. So I guess I'm going to do a couple videos on the things that happened to me so I can just, share them, I guess, with everybody. And maybe show some pictures of the crystal grid I did. And then one about the reading of my crystals and comparing them to the books. I think would be interesting because that would probably take a while. So, yeah. And anytime you guys want to ask a question, you can send me a question at Siofra'sMagicAlcove@gmail.com, or you can friend me on Facebook or join our new Facebook group, Siofra's Magic Alcove. There's not much rules for that. You just have to be polite with other people and not try and push your own beliefs down anyone else's throats. That's pretty much it. And not be rude. So, yeah. Sandcat says, I've missed you both, Siofra and Ian. I'm glad I caught the end of the show. Yeah, we're glad you're here too. Beth says, Ian, thank you for having us. Julia says, been diving into my Hecatean studies this past few weeks and love to have caught up with you all. I'm so happy that you're back. Loved your new vids too. Thank you. Grumpy Owl says, by the way, everyone. I think it's bye-bye, but Karen, yeah. Karen says, thank you. Have a great rest of the weekend. He says, Siofra, did you see any of the fae that look like a cross between a bird and a frog, but with a skinny humanoid body? They're little, look unfriendly, but aren't. I'll have to think about that. I don't think so. And Hadi is giving me all kinds of information in the last few seconds of our show that I can't really get through. So keep that in mind and send it to me in an email. We have to go. We can't stay here forever. I would like to, but hey, that's the way it goes. Sorry. Don't mean to skip out, but got to have some boundaries.
Got to repair my sound system after blowing it up, so.
Yeah.
Spend some time doing something different.
I am so sorry.
That's life. Life when you dick with things all the time.